Shopify Rebellion versus Dragon Phoenix Gaming. Game 1.
Game 1 of the Shopify Rebellion and the Dragon Phoenix Gaming starts right now. World Team League Playoffs Finals Day. And oh, it's just gonna be sick match after sick match after sick match. I'm hoping for some goodness. Hoping we get some back and forth. Let's see how it all begins with Dark and ByuN in the first game of the semi-finals. In the bottom left-hand corner, representing the Shopify Rebellion, stepped it up a lot this season. It is ByuN. In the top right-hand side, one of the best to do it in the red. Our Zerg player from Dragon Phoenix Gaming, it is Dark. And with this, we will have seen all but one of the players from Dragon Phoenix Gaming off of yesterday's match and today's. Yesterday we saw Hero, then Rogue, then Zest. Today, Dark will make his appearance, and we still have Cure, just not showing up yet. I mean, he has been on the calls, he is around, just not been seeing him at the moment, as we do see ByuN. A little bit of trickery, not having the barracks at the front. This is becoming quite a common thing to do, to just not have your racks at the front and to try and trick your opponent into thinking, haha, I'm being really aggressive, be afraid of me, be worried, be concerned, when in reality there's not really to be afraid of, right? The racks is just in the main base, but it is just trying to, make something of your opponent, try and get your opponent to scout incorrectly and so on, and to make some wrong decisions, which can always be effective. You've got to appreciate plays like that and mind games like that throughout the course of a day. I mean, Dog is already afraid of the proxy racks of ByuN. He is scouting around with that drone. He does not want to die to something silly here. Again, if you're just joining us and you've not watched any World Team League playoffs so far, well, let me just quickly explain how this works. Each team has 4 lives, and when 2 teams send a player out, they will play 2 maps. So these 2 players, Dark and ByuN, will play 2 maps guaranteed. When you lose 1 map, you will lose the life for your team. But you can't lose 2 lives with 1 player. You just lose 1 life. So basically, if you lose map 1, you have lost a life for your team, and your team will have to send out a different player next. But you will get to play map 2, where if you get the map yourself, if you go 1-1, both players lose a life, both players are eliminated, and both teams have to send out a new player for the next match for the next life. Obviously, if you get 2-0, the 2-0ing player gets to stay out there, no life is lost, and the other team is the one that loses just 1 life and has to send somebody new out. So that's how the playoffs work. It gets a little complicated towards the end. We'll keep you up to date with all of the situations and how it works basically as we get deeper into the match and as those situations potentially arise, because otherwise I could list off about 5 minutes of weird specific rules and stuff. So yeah. Other thing I just want to say very quickly, because it's Dark ByuN to start the day, wasn't quite ready for this to be quite so epic quite so soon, but maybe I should have been. Is, of course, if you do end up watching this on the YouTube channel, just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for watching. We will have had a few World Team League uploads the last few days, I imagine. So I hope you've been enjoying this event. If you enjoy, as always, just hit the subscribe button, like the video. Helps us out a whole bundle. Just wanted to remind you guys of that. As otherwise, this game is underway, and beyond the initial kind of hiding of the barracks, these Marines have been producing, and now they're going for a wander across the map. This is where you're going to need just make sure you have a couple units available, else you might be in a little bit of trouble as Dark. So that's just something to be somewhat careful of. As he does just drop a roach drone in the back. So Dark is doing what Dark loves to do, which is open roaches. This absolutely is well and truly something Dark loves to do as well, by the way, guys. He is a massive roach player. He plays a lot of early roaches, very early roach pressures into the macro game, or just early roach kind of macro game situations as well, which not a lot of people do. It's not very popular because a lot of people don't really see that as being extremely effective or so. They see it as a heavy investment early game to, basically defend what you can defend with anything else. And it's going to be roaches against a 2-1-1. If Dark, I mean, he needs to not make an all-in out of this. He has quite a bit of gas. If he attacks with this, he's going to be in trouble. He's waiting on a supply block now. He's going to make more roaches. This feels like more than just some safety roaches as well. This feels like they want to go across the map. If they're going to move into 16-plus stimmed Marines, they're going to have a very bad time. And even defensively, just because you're kind of cutting workers a little earlier than usual, this is kind of rough. I mean, when you defend this build, usually as the Zerg player, you have 47, 48 drones nowadays, and you play a Ling Queen defense. Well, this is going to be Roach defense off of 41 drones. Now he's droning up a bit more, but he made those roaches before he droned, so those drones could have already been out and mining, Whereas now they're in the production tab still, and that's the major difference. If he'd made drones, then roaches, he would have still had the roaches in time for this attack, and that's just a little something to take note of early on in this game that could influence how ByuN's attack goes. And I don't think Doc should die. I think with the roaches built and the queens there, this should be a very holdable attack. You know, he's got units, right? It's not like he's underprepared. In fact, like I say, he's made the units early. He should be okay. It's just he did hurt his economy a little bit more than it needed to be to defend this. And the one thing you can now do, because you're up against roaches, they're going to be slower moving than if this was a Ling defense, you can drop around a lot more. So you're going to be able to jump up into the main, back down to the third base, and this is where ByuN is probably going to find some good damage throughout the early course of the game. 4 drones already going down. The Marines load back into the medevacs, and they're going to go boosting up the top side, going to unload on the natural expansion where Roach gets picked up, and the damage continues to be done. Medevac, Widow Mine, and a handful of Marines will make its way out across the map as well, so it's going to bring itself across for the moment, and it's going to be heading across into the top sides. Just again, more pressure out of ByuN. He doesn't have to worry about anything at home himself. Now remember, all this pressure comes off the later third CC. This wasn't a fast 3cc build, so third is only just now finishing. It's not the latest third in the world, and for a 2-1-1 opening, it's actually pretty darn quick. You're going to be able to morph that third into an orbital and land it by, what, 6:45 or so? Yeah, I mean, it's not early, but it's not late either. Sometimes with the 2-1-1s, I mean, you used to talk about like an 8-minute third base being like, you know, the compensation for the Zerg players. Oh no, the medevac goes down though. That's a micro mistake from ByuN. He didn't need to lose that. I just wanted to save all of his units, and obviously that was just a miscalculation. That's not quite how that is meant to go down. So that is a little bit of a mistake as these Marines in the center. Roaches are going to move forward, and these Marines will do a little bit of damage to those Roaches initially, just punching them back and getting them back in position. 1-1 missile upgrades coming up on the evolution chambers in the meanwhile as well, so just continue to bring that out. And this hatchery drops down over on the far right-hand side as Dark will take just another base for himself here. And, yeah, I mean, a couple of Infestors coming up. The 1-1 missile upgrade still coming through. Continue to play this Roach Ravager style. Infestor support as well. This is just Dark, right? This is something that you don't see out of a lot of the other Zerg players, but it's, you know, for Dark, it's common occurrence. It's very much so the norm, so yeah, let's see how it continues through. Let's see what the next play of this whole thing is going to be. Hydra Den is on the way out. Coming up to completion shortly. Still just got the Hive coming through. Lings and the Ravages, a few Roaches still being brought into play as well. As we're going to move all the way up here, this is going to be a hatchery which is in some trouble. We're going to jump onto these Roaches and Ravages, so jumping onto the little bit of Roach Ravager there, and just going to be seeing our Roaches taking some shots. The other Marines out into the center as well. And we do have the medevacs pulling back down the bottom left. Marines do just load up there and escape out of trouble away from the watchtower. So getting out of there nice and quickly. Obviously just keeping yourself safe is quite important. Dog's on his way to the Lurker Den, of course, which means that he's going to go into that kind of Roach Ravager, into Lurker transition. One of the main things I always have an issue with this style is that I personally feel like you kind of invite the Terran player to make all of these, you know, tanks, basically, to deal with Roach Ravager, and that means they already have tanks up and running when it comes to dealing with the Lurkers, so it's hard to find a chance for your Lurkers to first run into your opponent, because, well, how are they ever going to be able to run into your opponent? You know, if you're running into your opponent, they're already going to have tanks. If they're sieged up, if they're properly placed, yeah, you're just going to have a bad time. It's going to be very, very difficult to make something out of that. So I think that's one thing to, I think that's one thing I'm looking out for here, basically. As, oh, nice fungal growth. That's going to be Corrosive Piles to get a bunch of the kills. We do have a drop in the main base as well. Dark using that Infestor to really shut down some of this aggression. And that's important, I think, because without it, you might have been in a good bit of trouble here as these Marines picking up a few more Ling kills. 8 drone kills. I mean, nice for ByuN to do some damage himself. He is going to put Dark down to 66 drones here. I mean, Dark is not playing a style that plays off of a super high drone count a lot of the time, which means that the moment you lose 10 workers, that drone count starts to look very questionable. I mean, ByuN starts to be careful. There's a lot of units on the map, and, you know, it's a very aggressive kind of, you know, tanky style of Dark. It's a lot of Roaches and Ravagers. You know, you're pushing in with lower army supply, and usually that's fine as well because you're trading against Roaches, but it's very easy to get outmassed if you lose a couple units here and there. And right now, it's just another mega fungal growth, right? That fungal was absolutely perfect, so those fungals are doing a lot Lurkers are out, but we're waiting for Seismic Spines, the Lurker range, to really come into play and really help things out further here. Just going to duck that medevac forward, and see now the chance to maybe break on through as the Ravagers move in. Tank is going to get picked off already, and ByuN probably going to have to reconsider still being out on the map, of course. So we'll have to consider that as we have got ourselves a Ghost Academy coming down. Liberator's coming up. ByuN content to start playing the later game here, so he's happy to say, okay, cool. I'm not just going to win this with pure aggression. I do need to maybe look at this and say, yeah, I need to be a little bit prepared for the future, because Lurkers are indeed coming online. They are going to be an issue. They are going to create problems for me as a couple of Lings go down. Another Creep Teamer gets picked off. Those Lurkers continue to burrow up. And just going to be seeing +2 missiles again. Still on the way through the +2 missiles, sorry, and the the upgrade for the Lurkers. I can't remember the Drent. What's the Lurker upgrade called, chat? The Lurker upgrade, the one that does the burrowing and stuff. I am completely blanking what the Lurker upgrade's called, but it increases your movement and burrow speed, so I can't think of that at all. It's gonna hit me like a truck when I read it in chat. But the Lurker upgrade coming in as well with the +2 missiles. So, I mean, Doc is really hitting all of his upgrades. I'm just gonna see this little drop in the back. Adaptive Talents, thank you so much. I was nowhere close to it. I could not get there at all. I very rarely forget an upgrade name, but that is going to be one of the rare times. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Yeah, 9 drones going down, 10 drones going down. And we're just going to be seeing the Liberator again picked off there. I mean, we're actually going to dive on these few Lurkers as well. They're just out in the open, kind of left alone, not really protected properly. This Marauder force coming through. Another Fungal Growth does drop down and does threaten that army. And you've got to be a little bit cautious and careful. Got to be a little bit careful about that, and make sure that you don't let this get out of hand as Hydras continue up. I mean, Dog, I think, needs to slow down this game a little bit, which is what the Lurkers are meant to do. He's in a bit of trouble because ByuN's had so much map control all game. The creep spread is almost non-existent as he tries to take a 5th base to the top side. ByuN's got good control of the situation here, and with a lack of creep spread, it means he can sit off of creep and push his way in towards the base. And that's obviously fantastic, because any fight you take is basically going to be off creep pretty much right away. Just trying to drop a couple snipes down. Obviously, you push those Lurkers back a little bit, helps a lot. Oh, Overseer coming down the left side is potential to move on in towards the main. We're going to drop a Nidus network into the main base as well there. Another snipe trying to line up. I mean, the Vipers just continue to abduct, and this time the Ghosts get completely destroyed, so not going to find much there. The Nidus is so frustrating to deal with. Lurkers in your main base. You've got to deal with your own Sim City. That's going to be a problem. I mean, ByuN has a lot of his army just across the map still, so dealing with those Lurkers, that might be a problem. Obviously, if it shuts down your production and you have no new units on the way out, this really can be a problem. Now, picture-in-picture is going to show you the main base getting absolutely ransacked. The main force of the Terran is on its way back home, but look at how ByuN's supply has plummeted as 21 SCVs have gone down. Well, yeah, I mean, you lose 21 SCVs. That's already a bad start. Now you've not been able to get any production out. Now you've left these tanks over here, so Dark jumps on this, and suddenly Dark is collapsing the attack and the setup of ByuN. I mean, the entire main base is going to die. You cannot let a Nidus go up when Lurkers are on the map. The game just ends. Just a complete throwaway by ByuN. I mean, credited Dark, right? He did the right thing. He plays the Nidus, he gets the Nidus in, but this is ByuN's mistake. You cannot let a Nidus go into your main base. It's just too brutal when there's Lurkers out on the map. Again, you will see some of those maps as like map 1 of, series, but it's the loser picks that those maps are then vetoed for. ByuN is our blue Terran in the bottom right-hand side. Top left, our red Zerg player. Decisive Nidus to end game 1. It is Dark. Well, here we are, everybody. With Dog taking that first game. That means that ByuN and the Shopify Rebellion will lose 1 life. Obviously, this is now ByuN's chance to at least make it 1-1 and to force a new player out from the Dragon Phoenix gaming squad. It's very important to go 1-1, I think, because if you get 2-0'd, that means at some point in this series to catch back up, you have to 2-0 yourself as the Shopify Rebellion. And 2-0ing anybody on the roster of Dragon Phoenix Gaming is not easily done. But it turns out they have a really good roster. It turns out they have a really good set of players. Who would have thought that the the Dragon Phoenix Gaming squad was really good? So I think it's very important you get a map win of Dark here. Not that I don't think, you know, Lambo and Scholar couldn't take Dark down, but just that it's going to be difficult to find 2-0s in this series in general. You know, these when you're playing against these monster teams, the format helps you out if you can do the bare minimum, and the bare minimum really is taking the 1-1s, right? And then if you can get to that big old ace match at the very end of the day, you know, then it's just one map, right? Yeah, it just, if you fall 2-0 behind, we saw it yesterday with Alpha X, they fell up 0-2 behind, one of the series went 0-2, and they just couldn't find a 2-0. It just means you have to 2-0 like another player at some point, and that's so difficult to do. Pull first into a very quick roach roar and aggression here from Dark. Wonder if this takes advantage of all the fact that ByuN is not walling off with the initial racks. To me, that probably helps. I mean, as long as you do complete the wall off, and I mean, obviously you're just going to need a bunker here in general. As long as you complete that, you should be okay, because then, in fact, you just don't have an add-on you have to try and save. Those roaches will start to build again. Very early attack from Dark. It's a short map, so this attack arrives quickly. And ByuN is going to build that bunker on the high ground. That is absolutely essential. Without that bunker, you have the potential to be in a lot of trouble. Now, here's an issue as well, though. These Marines do not want to go down. Losing Marines right now means less damage output to deal with roaches. So that would be an issue. 2 SCVs is a lot. It's expensive. Let's see if we can finish that command center first of all. Obviously, finishing the CC will be a priority. Even if it can't mine because of roaches in the natural, just being able to lift it up and move it along helps out a whole bunch. So one thing to be watching for as our roaches make their way down to the bottom right side. Cyclone on the way up. ByuN's going to defend this, so good news is ByuN will have a defense here. Maybe loses one more SCV. Okay, I mean, that's not bad. Especially, again, because you're not going to lose the add-on at the front, because there is no add-on at the front. I think that is actually very important as well. There was an add-on at the front, and again, maybe that goes down. That's one of the first things you really get to pick off there is, oh my goodness, that roach survives on 1 HP or something. 2 HP, maybe? It's on 3 now. I was just wondering, maybe it already regened, but maybe it was just 3 health altogether. Either way, very low HP roach. That could obviously morph into a Ravager at some point and get fully healed if it would like to be healed up, so that's going to be nice, and that will be a factor in this as well, I'm sure. Let's just see a Cyclone tagging the Overlord for a few moments there. Link speed and more links still on the way out. This medevac is still just on the way through. Medevac's going to go boost forward, and I mean, nice that you got a couple Cyclones on the map. The Medevac's going to provide high ground vision, but these Cyclones can go across the map as well and put some pressure on. I think that's going to be really cool, too. If you can put some pressure on with these Cyclones across the map, I mean, that's going to be a real positive for sure. So, expecting that to be substantial, as you do see the Banshee and the Cloak starting up on that starport now. Both these Cyclones unloading, but the Lings are going to come through, and the Cyclones now trying to get into a corner and justify staying locked onto the overboard, but just isn't realistic, as Lings are going to counterattack in. Okay, ByuN does have the Marines on the high ground, so it's not like he's completely out of position. He will lose 3 SCVs, he loses a depot, and maybe even a second. So he had to cancel one, and then he's going to lose one that gets killed off as well. So he's going to be supply blocked for a while. Obviously, you lose one, and then your next super that was meant to be building isn't here yet. But he is on the map dealing damage with these Cyclones. I mean, he's going to kill himself a couple of roaches now. Maybe even more than that, is for whatever reason, Dark is still out here, and still trying to make something of this. The Lings are back in, though, and more SCVs are going down. I mean, ByuN is honestly doing okay if he just wasn't losing all these SCVs. He's clearing up roaches. Dark is making... He actually made more Lings. So to be fair, it is an investment from Dark. He's doing this off a low drone count. It's not like he's doing this off 40 drones already. He's doing this off of 30 drones, right? And if you're doing this off of 30 drones, it's obviously not as pretty. Trying to get an Overlord again in the main base. Still trying to keep the Cyclones active, but they are now dropping low on HP. Might be time to take them back home, get them repaired on up, and get them healthy again for the future. I'm just going to grab a depot and just going to be seeing the tank still just setting up to the high ground. Another CC comes in as, oh my god. These Lings are just so annoying. And you know what it is? It's just because you don't have Hellions. Because it's only Marines, he's too afraid to send the Marines too far forward in case they get surrounded and killed. If you have like 2 Hellions, this doesn't happen, right? Because these Hellions are more confident sitting forward. Now you've got to cancel this base. This is becoming an issue, man. Now, these Lings, friendly fire on the Marines from the tanks as well. I mean, this is genuinely becoming an issue. ByuN finally going to get a wall off up. I mean, he wasn't building the CC in the wall as well, which is usually something that you do because the CC in the wall off helps you to, well, wall off and it stops those Lings from running in. So those Lings did a lot. The good news for ByuN is that Dark is still doing all of this off of just such a weird economy. 41 drones only, so despite all the damage ByuN has taken, he's still okay in the economy. His 3rd CC delayed, but well, Dark's not exactly going anywhere quickly in this game himself. He does have a melee upgrade already, Dark, so he's going to have, again, he's really focused on just hoping that Lings can do a lot of the damage in this game. He's hoping the Lings can do a lot of the heavy lifting. Fingers crossed that they can, otherwise he will absolutely be in some trouble. Just going to see the Cyclones getting a little pick off there. Again, just the Cyclones have been great on the map, very active, and obviously something you needed to defend the initial Roaches anyway. And they really have done a lot for ByuN to take back map control, and I imagine it's part of the reason why we've not seen a lot of Queen play and a lot of creep spread. Once again, the creep is very non-existent from Dark. It's basically between his bases, so joining up his hatcheries, and even then, that's only just now happening. So that creep spread is very delayed, and that was the same in the last game, so obviously it's not just a guaranteed win then from ByuN, but it definitely allows ByuN to get into positions on the map much more easily, and that usually goes a long way in his favor. So, you know, get into position on the map, it can dictate fights a lot more. Like I say, I imagine that's going to be a pretty serious factor here as we continue through. Cyclones are really desperate to try and get that 4th base, aren't they? They've dropped back down there now a couple of times. We'll get it with the help of the Banshee to kill the drone off afterwards as well. And these Lings are still just waiting for their chance. I mean, this 3rd base is kind of an open target. The Marines are out in the front. Obviously, you do have Medivacs, you have lift potential. And the Stim ready too. We're going to run back into the wall, but the Lings are going to get a wraparound. Well, not quite a full wraparound, but these Lings are still going to make their way in. And again, it's a melee upgrade against 0-0, so the Lings are just going to have a lot of damage output on those Marines compared to what you might expect. And again, this is where the tanks are, yeah, going to help to clean up, but it costs you a few Marines in doing so because of the friendly fire. SCVs, 6 of them going down. 3 drones died in the meantime back across the map, and now 9 SCVs go down for more friendly fire happening. The extra drone went down as well. I really don't know what that was too. Maybe the Cyclones came in or so. But obviously we didn't get a look at it, so... Anyway, not a big issue. I mean, ByuN is up in supply, guys. This is a lot of Lings, so while ByuN loses 9 SCVs, it's a big investment from Dark. There was a lot of Lings he flung into that base to try and make something happen, and ByuN does seem to be controlling his supply quite nicely so far. Definitely not falling too far behind, as once again Tank and Marines there to push those Zerglings back away over the left-hand side. ByuN has not really been on the map with Marines. They're going to be here now, and the Medivacs, I assume, are the 2 blue dots following in the middle of the map. Otherwise, that would be kind of a scary push forward. It is now 1-1 versus 1-1 as well, so upgrades have evened out, and that's obviously very good news. I do think part of the initial fight there was just melee upgrades against 0-0 Marines. It's pretty powerful, as the Cyclones are still around on the left side. They're going to try and get active while we push on the right, and we're going to go for a Queen or so. Transfusion helps keep that first Queen alive for a little while. Cyclone loads up, moves up the left-hand side. More Lings still on their way around, and 2-2 upgrades coming in from both at the moment. Marines and Mines will continue on forwards, and just going to be seeing these few Banelings morphing in as well. The Marines can try and put themselves up in this corner. Well, I'm going to take some sport core shots from the onto the Medivacs, but that's about it. Otherwise, it's still looking pretty neat. Just going to see our Marines here going to have to lift as well. But Widow Mine's going to help. There's actually too many Marines for the medevac, so a few got left behind also for just a few moments. Oh, this is a medevac, which is a shame. Just because there was Marines still to be saved. Still a group of Marines are still working their way through. ByuN just very drop heavy at the moment, and no detection this left side means these mines are going to get a chance to fire again. Dark is going to continue chasing forward. The mines go off on the Queens. A couple of them go down. Now we trade out transfusions to help out with that. You load the Marines back into the medevacs, and they're going to pull away. I don't know what that beeping is, guys. It's on the clean feed. Sorry. It's not your PC, though. I feel like they're just pressing a weird button or something. Oh, nice Widow Mine shot. Grabs a few of the Lings. Couple Cyclones unloading, and these Marines will continue through for the rest of these Lings for a while. Now they're going to get cleaned up and pushed back, but the supply is absolutely just heavily in ByuN's favor. It's one of those scenarios I just don't know if Dark ever really recovers from, right? He doesn't have enough in the game. He's just had a 2-2 advantage for a tiny amount of time, but didn't really go anywhere. You're going to be seeing Marines now dropping down onto the ledge here, killing off more of these Lings. Yeah, looking pretty good across the board. The sound is Battle.net app friends logging on. Okay, I see. That's definitely not me then. I definitely don't have Battle.net friends. The sad truth of the world. Yeah, I imagine it's a setting that they have on the Chinese. It's on the clean feed side, like I say. I just haven't turned it off or so. So apologies. I know it just bugged me because it has happened like 3 times in this game. Anyway, ByuN has just been an absolute monster of an attack right now. He's just been absolutely non-stop with this aggression, and absolutely just looking good to take this down and to take this second game, which is good. You're going to knock Dark down, and by knocking Dark down, you're obviously going to make life easier for your team. You're going to have somewhat done your part as ByuN. I think just kind of sad that obviously you don't win that first game, but got to remember that this map is Berlingrad, and while you can talk about the idea of maybe, well, if he'd won map 1, it would have been a 2-0. If he'd won map 1, map 2 would have been Dark's map pick, and it's very possible that this game then would have looked very different, and it would not have been anywhere near the same. So